So this location, which is right behind the senior center, good morning, of Miami Gardens, this is Northwest 112th Avenue, Northwest 183rd Street. This is where the Enrico Farmhouse once stood. The city of Miami Gardens, yes, the city of Miami Gardens had this house torn down. You know why? This was the oldest home in the city of Miami Gardens. It was 100 years old this year, and the city, so intent on tearing it down, tore it down. This house is gone. 100 years of history, 100 years of so much. All of this land, what you know now as Norland, that family, the Enrico family, owned this land, right? An Italian family owned all of this property. Part of the dairy industry in the early 1900s is no longer here. And my question is, why was the city so intent on tearing this house down? I went down to the county, went to the city to try to get this stopped. Myself and so many others tried to get this home saved because of the history. There was so much that could have been done with this home. It was right here. They wanted to build senior housing right behind here. There's 5-6 acres of land back there. Tearing this house, leaving this house would have been fine. It would not have impeded on anything. They could have gone right here and enter into that property where they wanted to build the senior housing. And this is what the city of Miami Gardens is doing. I've been to the city council meetings, and the fact that they have said that they are about preservation, that they are about history, this was history here. Literally, I was driving by, I was coming from North Miami Beach, and my gut told me, come over here, because someone saw this house on Friday. Today is Sunday. I don't know when this got torn down, but it got torn down. I want you guys to understand that when folks who represent you in this city say that they are about history, this is a perfect example of not being about history. Because if they were about history and about preserving history, they would have found a way to save this house, work around it, and build whatever they have to build behind the home. Behind the home. The city of Miami Gardens, 2012, went out of its way to have this home designated as historic in Miami-Dade County. It was one of 2 structures here in the city, the other being the Sunshine State Arch, which the city last year tried to get renamed after former Mayor Oliver Gilbert. They couldn't do that, so they tacked on something over there that has former Mayor Oliver Gilbert's name. Those are 2 structures, only 2 in the city of Miami Gardens. And the city, no one else, the city made sure that to get both of those structures named, designated historic in Miami-Dade County. And then the city went and said, we're going to sell this land and we're going to have this house torn down. And they said that they could not rebuild this home. You can't tell me that folks all the way over there across the pond went and they rebuilt the Notre Dame. Look at that structure compared to this small 2-story home. They said that they couldn't do it because it was too far gone. It was burned. You can't tell me that, because there's so many houses that have been burnt to the ground or halfway burnt, and they found a way to build this back up. The feasibility studies that they said they did not have, because myself and some others went down to the county and they did not have a feasibility study. They weren't expecting us to go down there to fight for this home, but we found a way. And we got down there and we found a way, and we went to the advisory board meeting right here in the city of Miami Gardens. I'm thoroughly disgusted. I'm sick and tired of council members stating that they are about history, that they are about preservation, and then they tear this house down. It does not have to be about Black history. It is about the history of the area. I want everyone to understand that it is the history of the area. This farmland was so instrumental in building up. Let's break it down. You have MacArthur Dairy. For those of us who are old enough to remember, MacArthur Dairy, Ives Dairy, Velda Farms, Myrtle Grove, Graham Dairy Farms. If you live in Carroll City, in that area, Carroll City, Graham Dairy Farms. And for this to happen, and for them to say that they could not do anything to prevent it, this was, you know what this was? This was demolition by neglect. Demolition by, you see that pile back there? That pile, they've been piling up for some time back there. They weren't trying to preserve this home. Right here where I'm standing, and I'm going to pull out. I had to speak right here. Someone drove through here sometime last year, and I had to send a letter, call before anyone in public works would do anything. And even then, they didn't put this here. When I talked about the home, and I have pictures of the home, and we actually went in the home. You know why? Because it was open. Because they weren't trying to preserve anything. Period, point blank. I am so disgusted right now. You don't even want, you don't know. There's going to be a historic advisory board meeting coming up January, and I will make sure that everyone knows that meeting is happening. Because if you have some kind of history, or if you're involved in who received, I don't know, like who, you know, in terms of history here in the city of Miami Gardens, I want everyone to start speaking out and understanding that when people said that they represent you, are they really listening to you? Are they actually listening to when the folks are saying, hey, we want to preserve this area. Hey, we want this area cleaned up. Hey, there's things going on here that we need to make sure that when we talk about history, history is not just Black history. I am going to emphasize it. History is not just about Black history in Miami Gardens. Miami Gardens is made up of a group of people, and it is not just Black folks. As someone who is in that category, I am talking about history. I'm someone who deals with history, specifically Black history, on a county and South Florida level. But in this case, I live here in the city of Miami Gardens, and I want to tell all of the history. All of the history. And that includes this farmhouse. That includes this farmhouse. We have been trying to find family, anyone that we could, to try and preserve this home right up until yesterday. We were trying our best to see what we could do. And here we are. Look at this. For those of you who've passed by this home, if you're here in the Norwood area, you know this house. You passed by this house. The city got this home. Paperwork says that the funding that would be utilized to be a historic area so that they can preserve Miami Gardens history within the home. And yet this is what the city did. This is what the city did. I know they're not listening. I know they're not listening. But I'm tired of it. And as a matter of fact, I was actually going to do an op-ed about something that took place right here in the senior center that several seniors, even up to yesterday when I was at the Prosperity Basket giveaway, seniors came up to me and asked me, did I hear about the incident that took place in the senior center that so many of them were not aware of? I will be doing something on that later on today, so watch out for that. That is my editorial piece based on what residents have told me who attend that center right there, the senior center. They do not feel safe in there, and there's a reason why. I'll be back with that. But this right here is just an immediate thing because I'm just thoroughly disgusted by the fact that we have history here and it's progressively being torn down. And for what? And for what? The fact that this home is 100 years old and has withstood all of these hurricanes and is still standing, and somehow mysteriously, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm just saying, a fire, all of a sudden, some fire took place in there, and now it's no longer, we can no longer fix this home. I want to know. Why bother designating this house? What was the purpose of designating this house historic if you're going to turn around and tear it down 13 years later? Are you going to tear down the arch? The Sunshine State Arch? I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. We have been talking about this house, trying to preserve this house, I've talked to council members about this house, went to historic advisory board about this house, about getting something to mark this home as historic. And here we are, the city of Miami Gardens tore this house down. Right? They are a part of not preserving this home. They may not be the quote unquote, the actual ones that actually physically did it because they're selling the property to someone who's going to build quote unquote senior housing. But the city could have made sure that this home wasn't a part of it. This particular property was not a part of it. And yet here we are. It's gone. It's no longer here. The history of this home, Sam Enrico and his wife. They came down here, small farm, and they had about 125 Jersey cows. With that farm, there's two houses that's right. If you know where the Seventh-day Adventist church is, right over here, those two houses were a part of this whole entire farm where his son and daughters lived. Okay, I'm going to break it down because I did a live about this house twice already. I'm going to do it again so that you guys know. He brought in black grapes to this area. He built up the soil. They would live at the top of the home. The cows and everything would be at the bottom of the home. All the way up to around 7th or I think 2nd Avenue, they owned all of this land. All of this land is what they owned. The city, the people who are here are not understanding, they're not vested in understanding what takes place here when we're talking about preserving history, preserving the community, educating folks about where we live. It is not about the here and now. It's also about what once was. We have to understand that. We are in a time and age where everything is being torn down, where everything is being changed, and where we are being filtered so many things that are not true. And to have this building be torn down because there was no understanding of the history, and to cordon off just this little area, the home didn't take up that much space. They absolutely have more than enough. But the excuse was, guess what? We needed a place for the plumbing or whatever the gentleman said that was from the developers. What are you talking about? This is not the only place. You have 5 acres of land that's way behind there. But this is where we are right now. I will do an in-depth about this home. I have so much information about this house, about its connection to Pope John Paul, about its connection to the building of the dairy industry here in South Florida. There are folks who are living right now who are old enough to remember when this was the only place that they could get dairy products, the only place where they could get milk. And we're talking about folks who live in Bunch Park that turned 75 years this year as well. Another historic area that is not designated in this city. There is no marker there. There is nothing. That is a historic area. That is a historic area that needs to be designated. But again, for those who are just coming on, if you've heard me talk about this farmhouse, it's now no longer here. It's torn down. And I am at Northwest 12th Avenue, near 183rd Street. That is the senior center, and that was once the Enrico Farmhouse. That was once the Enrico Farmhouse. So I want all of you to understand, there are people that are running. We have an election next year for seats 2, 4, and 6. Question these folks, not just about this farmhouse, but what do they really know about what's going on in the city of Miami Gardens and what the residents want? Because that slogan, Miami Gardens is where you want to be, we already here. So who is that for? Who is that for? That slogan is not for the people who live here, because we live here. So Miami Gardens ain't where we want to be, it's where we at. Okay? So remember that. 2026, we have FIFA. We have what's the F1 racing. This area here is constantly bombarded with traffic. They're going to build housing here. So I would love to see their feasibility study just on the traffic alone. Because if this is a 2-lane area, and if you know about that senior center, they don't even have a turning lane right there. To get in there, you have to cross over. I'm disgusted. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice, but I'm just disgusted because this is the second place. Brentwood Park. If you know about Brentwood Park, that building I tried to save. You know why? Because of the architecture. That is the specific Miami modern architecture. That is that area, and the city tore it down. And before they tore it down, I walked over there and asked the guy, hey, could you take some photos for me? So he took some photos for me before they tore down the building and put it in the swimming pool and covered it up. So if you go to Brentwood Park, it's just a plain grassy area. There once was a swimming pool there. I drove by Buccaneer Park, and now I was told, and I will investigate myself with Miss Murphy to find out for sure, but I was told that the tennis court that was once at Buccaneer Park is now going to be a pickleball court. My question is, I thought the pickleball court was supposed to be across the street. There was a whole groundbreaking for it. Did something happen? You see what I'm saying? All of these things are taking place, and how many residents know about this? Let me see what this is. I knew about this farmhouse where the senior center. Yep, yes. Look around New Miami Gardens. It's not us now. The people living close by will now feel it. They will keep going around, calling and leaving mailers, asking us to sell our homes. Yep. This is true. So I don't know what's going on with the pickleball situation over there on 207 near Buccaneer Park, 32nd 207. It was supposed to be across the street. I don't know if they're still doing it now because they now have torn down that tennis court. And my question is why? Why would you tear down the tennis court and we have Miami Open that's here? You could have events at all of these tennis courts. Brentwood has a tennis court. Myrtle Grove has a tennis court. Norwood Norland has a tennis court. Rolling Oaks has a tennis court. And Buccaneer Park had a tennis court. Now that's no longer there. It's across the street. It was already pickleball courts that are on the tennis court. Yeah, but you know what? You know what, Daryl? Why tear it down? Why tear it down? What if you're already going to have a pickleball court there? Why are we tearing down the tennis court that they just redid some years ago? Just repave it, move it around, and then do what you got to do. If you need to make it separate, separate it. I'm going to find out for sure regarding the pickleball situation at the actual Buccaneer Park. But we have to be forward thinking in terms of how to move forward. We have all of these tennis courts in this city. Why not have it so that we have a community event where different neighborhoods can come together and have tennis court events with with each other. Same thing with the pickleball with each other within the city. You know what I'm saying? These things I just don't. And this is why I go to some of these meetings. This is why I go live at some of these meetings, because I want you guys to see what's going on there. I want you guys to ask the questions. I want you guys to understand that sometimes the people who say they represent you are not representing you. They're representing people who don't live here. Period, point blank. And themselves. $400,000 for a one-day Juneteenth event. Yes, I will say it. I was given the paperwork, so it is true. $400,000 for a one-day event. We had no Martin Luther King Day event. We had no Black History event. We had no Women's History event. We had no Hispanic Heritage event. We had no Caribbean Heritage event. There's so many different things that could have gone on in the community with the $400,000 that was used for a one-day event. I want y'all to understand that. So when money is being used, question it. Question where's it going? I ask about the freebie. I think it's a great thing, but we also have to ask if the freebie is we have 6 or 7 freebies and we have the trolley system. Why are they not highlighting the trolleys? I've talked about the trolleys ad nauseum. Public Works is probably sick of me talking about the trolleys and the trolley signs, but there is a trolley sign right there, but for whatever reason, the trolley does not go into the senior center and come out. And there is a weird non-turning lane there. There's no turning. If you're coming north on 12th Avenue, there really is no turning lane. You just have to cross over and get over. Not even in my... No, I get it. But it's just, yeah. It's not, and you know what? It wasn't even in Miami Gardens, and it wasn't even in Miami-Dade County. But we ain't gonna go there right now. I got, like that's a whole nother story with that Juneteenth event. I want things to happen here. Absolutely is an accident waiting to happen here. I want things to happen here. I'm always talking about, hey, let's have something here. Hey, let's go here. This is what's happening in other cities. And you have folks who are saying, but why are you always talking about Miramar? Why are you always talking about Pembroke Pines? Why are you talking about Hialeah or North Miami? Because they're doing stuff over there. They're listening to the residents. That's why. Why we can have the same exact thing, but you have to have forward-thinking people. You have several people that are running this year. I'll go down the list. You have Paul Wilson. How many of y'all know who Paul Wilson is? And I'm not talking about his connection to his mother. Who he is, what he's done, and what he's done in the community. I'll wait. Laverne Deer. How many know who's Laverne Deer? Who she is, what she's done, and what she's doing in the community. I'll wait. That's seat 2. Seat 4. You have Maikita Cherry, excuse me if I kill her name, Cherry Prime. Who is she? What has she done? I'm not asking about their resume in terms of where they work. I'm talking about what they've done in the community. And that goes for everybody. Okay? Roderick Mack. Who is he? What has he done in the community? Angela Winter. Who is she? What has she done in the community? Okay, you got that is for seat 4. Those 3 are for seat 4. Seat 6, you have Robert Stevens. Who is he? What is he doing in the community? And you have, sorry, I killed his name. Iguodaro. If I said it incorrectly, my apologies. That's seat 6. Who is he and what has he done? How many of y'all know any of these people and what have they done in the community? I'm an equal opportunity caller outer. That's not even a word, but I'm going to use it today. I don't care who it is, whether I know you or I don't know you. You're running for these seats, then you should, who is that? Yeah, they tore it down. Good morning. What they did, they tore down this 100-year-old home, and they said they're going to build senior housing in the back, but they could have saved this home. Yep, they tore it down. We've been trying to save this house for some time.
Years.
They were able to, and they did not want to.
The Heritage Foundation.
Yep.
Had the
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Nah, you don't want me to run, because I'll be, the way I would be calling folks out left, right, and center. They don't want me to run. Nope. I want to be able to just speak freely, minus these Sunshine State laws, clause, and everything else. I want to call folks out at will, without having to be barred from I can't say anything because. Absolutely disgusted. You have 3 schools down the street, the middle school, elementary, and high school, that you could have had these students come here and learn about this house, learn about the architecture. Even when we went downtown Miami, we spoke at the advisory, historic advisory board. And one of the advisory members is an architect, and he teaches architecture. And he said this home is a great home for his students to come here, learn about the architecture, learn about the home, and learn about rebuilding and help to rebuild this home. That's what could have been done here. That's what could have been done. And yet, no. Sell everything. Sell the 35 acres. If you know, you know. Sell where that pink house it was located over there by the, across the street from the Wawa. Sorry, I don't remember the name of the church. And there was a house on that property. That home was actually the first city hall of Carroll City, when Carroll City became a city neighborhood area. That house was there. I actually have a picture of the home. At the time when I took the picture, I didn't even know what the house was until I went down to History Miami, and there is a photo of that home. That whole Carroll City Mart area where the flea market was located. I have when they were building the photos of when they were building that location. When they were building the Palmetto, all of that. I have those. Been working on trying to just put something together in terms of the history of this area. Rolling Oaks, another area. Bunch Park, absolutely an area that needs to be told, and the history that needs to be told. And if you look on my page, you'll see the pinned video of Joanne Cox Road. That is a very short video, but it's going to be a longer one because I'll be doing some oral history with some of the individuals who grew up there, including former Commissioner Betty T. Ferguson and her family. Mr. Archie McKay, who turned 100 years old this year. I want you guys to understand how important it is to really learn about history, South Florida history. I went to school in South Florida, in Miami-Dade County, and I assure you, some of the stuff that I'm doing right now, I learned zero zip zilch. I live here in Miami Gardens, and I hear nothing about the history. All I hear about is building. And you see all of the sororities and the fraternity signs that are all scattered around. Those should have been around the only HBCU that is in South Florida, and that located right here in Miami Gardens. That is Florida Memorial University. They should have been lined around. Each street over there should have been named after a sorority or fraternity. But there's no forward thinking ideas of how to do it. It's just like, there's some over here, and there's some over there, and there's some names over there, and there's some names over there. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, I'm going to get back, but that op-ed that I'm working on regarding this senior center and what took place at this senior center 3 weeks ago that some seniors are still just finding out about, it's going to come out later on today, because I'm reaching out to some people who are above to make sure and see what they know or don't know. Because I asked the councilwoman at her meeting, did she know about this incident? And she said no. And this is her area. Okay? So that tells you what information is or isn't getting out. Please, 2026. I don't care if you know these people. They're your best friends. They're your cousins, your mom, your dad, your sister, your play. We got several people that are running for all of these seats next year. Don't just vote for people because you know them or they're known name. Vote for them because they are doing something now in the community. Don't vote for them just because they show up 5 or 10 minutes. Because I've seen several people who are running that have shown up to events. They show up for 5 or 10 minutes, take pictures, and it seems as though they were there all day. And they were not. They were not. Because I've seen them. I've seen them. But again, the Enrico Farmhouse, torn down. 100 years of history, 100 years of preservation, 100 years being a part of so much, the building of the dairy industry. They brought all of this rich soil to this community as they built it up. Gone. It's rubble now. Boards, rubble. They're supposed to save and preserve things from this home. Let's see what they preserve. Let's see, because one of the suggestions was to. Now who's this calling me? I don't know who this is. One of the suggestions was to build like a gazebo in honor of. Why build a gazebo in honor of the home instead of just leaving the home where it stood? Rebuild it. It's a 2-story small farmhouse. It's not like it's some big mansion. I gotta take a breath because I'm pissed. Sorry, I'm just pissed. All right. Until then, I'm just gonna upload this live, and enough is enough with folks saying that they're about preservation, renaming parks without understanding and telling the residents, right? Because you have a park renaming Rolling Oaks Park that was renamed the Senator Oscar Brannan Park, but you had a lot of residents who were here when Rolling Oaks became Rolling Oaks, and they didn't know, right? I'm using that as an example of things that are going. And then when they had the ribbon cutting, they didn't even post it on the city's page. They didn't post anything. They sure enough didn't. I was sent some information, and that's how I knew that the ribbon cutting was taking place that day. That's how I knew, and that's how I went there, because there's nothing posted. They post freely all these others, but why hide that about what was going on at that park? You already named it. Let the folks know so they can come out and be for or against it. It is what it is. Please pay attention when I post these agendas. Please pay attention when I post flyers about things going on. If there are community meetings happening, if you're able to show up, please show up. There are several, I think it's about 13. Hello, how are you? Yeah, tore it down. I was driving by. I was going home, and I said, let me come over here. And I looked, and I said, my gut feeling said, I think they tore it down. Because they said Friday, I think it was still here, and my gut feeling said, I bet you they tore it down. And there you. Ridiculous. I need to. All right. Well, again, so please pay attention to anything that I'm posting from. You have crime watch meetings or homeowners association meetings, community meetings. If you can show up, please do. If you have questions about something, if you have concerns about something, please say it, because folks don't know until you say something, and you never know. The next person that's sitting beside, or the person sitting beside you, may be able to say, hey, I have that issue too. Let's see what we can do to make it better. If it's dirt on your sidewalks and you're like, for here, the city owns this, the city is responsible for this, right? Why is this not power wash? But they go around telling the residents to power wash the sidewalk. You see what I'm saying? These are the things. Oh, what's going on? Okay, so I'm at Northwest 12th Avenue and Northwest 184th. The senior center is located here. This is where the 2-story home, if you know where it is, there was a 2-story home here, and that was once the Enrico Farmhouse that has now been torn down. 100 years. This year, this house. Sam Enrico and his family built all of this. House stood for 100 years. Actively working to save. You see what they've done in Opalaka? And if you've seen the renovation, what they've done over there in Opalaka, this absolutely could have been done. This is a little house. It wasn't some mansion. It wasn't some big thing that was taking up so much square footage. But they were insistent on tearing this house down. Insistent on tearing this house down. And myself, right here, we went down to the county. We went down to the city. We've been up and down, back and forth, trying to save this house. And for what? Because they say they want to build senior housing and they need an entrance. You got an entrance right there. There's a whole entrance right there. Right there. They had no feasibility studies when we went to the county and they were asked by the county advisory board. They didn't even have a feasibility study. Nothing. Nothing. But they said because the house was burnt, oh, we can't redo it. But you see what they did with Notre Dame, right? They rebuilt that massive structure, but you couldn't do anything with this 2-story structure that you got designated. The city of Miami Gardens had this home designated as historic in 2012. What's the purpose of doing that if you're just going to turn around and tear it down? What is the purpose of that? You should have just torn it down when you built it, but you said that in documents that they were going to fix up the home and it was going to be a repository for the history of Miami Gardens. That's what it said in the documents. This is the history that Miami Gardens and the developers have left you, the residents. Rubble. Rubble. Absolutely disgusting. I'm tired of seeing things here that could be. And as a matter of fact, I'll even go into it. That 35 acres, the pure white sand. Myself and several residents, if you know about the Chittohatchee Park, and I'll do a live from over, I'm not going to do it today because there's a game, but the house has been in this same location for 100 years. This year, 2025, was the 100th anniversary of this home being built in this location. There is a park on 199th Street, and where you're making the left turn to go, well, if you're going east, to go to the turnpike, if you look to the south, there's a park there. It's in between two parking lots. I think parking lots 18 and 17 or whatever. That is the highest point in the city of Miami Gardens. It is called the Chittohatchee Park. It is a Miami-Dade County park. Chitto stands for snake. Hatchie stands for creek. Snake Creek. You know Snake Creek Canal? There you go. That reoccurring white sand that's over there on the 35 acres that's supposed to have been built 2-3 years ago. I'm not sure what's going on with that. That was a part of a beach, right? Let's get a little education here today, because I want you guys to understand that was a part of a beach, and that was a part of the Tequesta Indians. If you go there in that park, which is closed all the time, and that's a county park, so I'm working on trying to have it open so that we're able to get in and, just people can see. It's not really much in there, but there's some history in there. And the what do you call it? The archaeologist that was there, Mr. Ransom, gave us a little education about that park and the fact that it's connected to the Miami Circle. The fact that it's connected to that white sand that's over there. Think about it. White sand. Why is white sand over here? You ever look at this? All right, even better. As we look right here, look at all this sand. Because there was a beach at one point. Look at all that over there. It was a beach at one point. And it was connected. That canal was connected to the ocean and all of that. But how many people know anything about that park? You don't know. How many people know that Myrtle Grove was a dairy farm at one point? Or that Carroll City was Graham Dairy Farm? Right? How many people even know that Carroll City was once called Coral City, but got sued by the city of Coral Gables, so they had to change it to Carroll so they wouldn't get sued? You see all of that? That's a little bit of history. That's not a lot, but that's a little bit. But that's history we're not getting here. We're not getting any of that. I'm on the Historic Advisory Board. I've been trying to get on that board for a good 2.5 years. And thanks to Councilwoman Michelle Powell, who got me on that board. I'm going to make it my mission to, number one, we're going to get a marker right here so people know that this farm was here. Because this is ridiculous. That's number one. Number two, we're going to get a marker over there in Bunch Park. Because people need to know it's a historic area. It came about the same time as Richmond Heights. You know why? Because both areas were built for what? Black World War II veterans. Family members are still there today. Look at the houses. Look how those houses are built. Drive through Bunch Park. If you don't know where Bunch Park is, go past just go past 22nd. Where am I? Go down 22nd beyond the Palmetto. And you're in the Bunch Park, Rainbow Park area. No more Enrico Farmhouse. No more history in this area. But the history is not going to be lost because I'm going to tell that history. And we're gonna uncover some stuff so that you guys know moving forward. So 2026, you're going to get a lot more history from me in terms of what places and people in the city of Miami Gardens. So stay tuned. A website for Miami Gardens now is coming up. I've been working on it for a minute, so I know. And a newsletter will be coming up. So if you guys have any questions, you have any highlights that you want to see, I do have something that I've been working on for a little bit about the Carroll City Flea Market and the last days of the Carroll City Flea Market, photos that I took that I didn't even know I was going to need, but I went in there before they closed it up and before they tore it down, of that flea market. Because I want people to remember there are a lot of things here. So if you have any ideas of something that you know, hey, we need to talk about this, or talk to this person, or maybe this should be designated historic or what have you, let's have that conversation. I will be going live in the beginning of the year, because I think we really, there's a lot of missing links and a lot of missing education for the community, and it's high time that we start opening up those things. And if the city's not going to do it, then guess what? We, the residents, have to do it on our own. All right. So thank you very much for listening to me spew my about what took place here. But I had to go live and just let you guys see it live, unfiltered, unedited. You guys have to see what is happening here. And as the sun comes out now, there you are, what once was the Enrico Farmhouse. All right. Have a nice day.